Restored Republic via a GCR. Update as of July 28, 2021. The latest video will be shown earlier at the official website restoredrepublic.co, Judy note. The global currency reset shotgun start for Tier 4B, US, the internet group, could happen at any moment this week according to Fleming's military intel contact. On Mon. Night the 27th of July they started and stopped the RV because someone tried to hack the email servers. Every evening from now on they would continue to try to start the RV. Once again protocols have been changed for Tier 4B exchanges, redemption. We in Tier 4B, the internet group, would be notified via a safe link website to obtain Universal Basic Income, UBI, banking cards in order to gain access to personal accounts in the quantum banking system. The SafeLink website would be emailed out, published on various dinar websites, plus be in this update. Everyone would be in receipt of the personal UBI card, the same card that every qualified person in this nation and every other nation of the world would eventually have to gain access to their own banking accounts in the quantum banking system. Tier 4B would receive the SafeLink website and a personal 800 hash through their email, or it could be obtained by checking various dinar websites and will be published in this update. Through the SafeLink website you would verify that you were you. If you agreed with the totals in your account as far as what you had in currency and bonds to exchange and redeem, plus if you agreed with the rate they offered you on exchange of that currency, you may not need to make an appointment at a redemption center. Going on that SafeLink website you could elect to receive the UBI debit card delivered to your door by FedEx within 24 hours, or through use of the personal 800 hash obtain an appointment at a redemption center where you would obtain your card at the appointment. When you received your card it would be active and you would have access to all monies on the card. You would receive a non-disclosure agreement to sign at the same time you received your card. If you obtain your card by FedEx you would be able to manage your exchange from home with all of the phone support you could possibly require. If there was a problem in your account with what currency and ZIM you had, or if you did not agree with the exchange rate given, you would call for an appointment at a redemption center to straighten it out. You would receive your card at that appointment and have immediate access to your monies. For the time being these redemption centers would be open to serious people who have something to manage, like humanitarian projects. To obtain the contract rates, to redeem ZIM and to straighten out your personal banking account you would need to make an appointment at a redemption center. Those who had ZIM would need to have an appointment at a redemption center, where you would hook up with a wealth manager. That manager would coordinate your humanitarian program with a global humanitarian committee. Most ZIM would be paid out in a long-term payout. If you had a large amount of currency it would be paid out in a long-term payout. If you wanted a guaranteed income for you and your family for the rest of your life you would want to take the leverage payout. Tier 5 the general public, were set to start on Monday the 2nd of August. The new rates have been locked in and were said to be extremely high. Paymasters were no longer being funded. Bankers cannot talk about the new protocol. Restored Republic. This last week as the cabal's HAARP weather manipulation reigned across the globe including 2 typhoons hitting Japan and China on Tuesday the 27th of July. Chaos and destruction caused by floods continued to inundate countries worldwide. During floods in Germany there were 600 baby corpses that washed up into homes. The bodies assumedly came from a vast city elites. The Satanic Network was run by the Vatican and paid for by US taxpayer dollars. The very system Trump and the alliance were taking down with the global currency reset. According to Trump the underground dumbs were connected worldwide. They used technology not available to those on the surface of Earth, such as free energy, magnetic levitation transportation and highway systems. Their ability to move massive cargo overseas can be done in minutes and hours. These underground and underwater transit systems are the bloodline to the deep state operations. Much of this covert war was being fought underground, underwater and on the water. Another underground headquarters for adrenochrome and Bitcoin was in China's massive Three Gorges Dam that on Wednesday the 28th of July was at risk of blowing, putting 400 million people at risk, not to mention the dangers of 27 nuclear reactors housed beneath, beside Bitcoin headquarters, all of which were bound to lead to a global financial implosion. Meanwhile people were urged to stock up on at least 3 weeks of food and water. We were promised the new Starlink internet system by the end of the month, about the time the general public could exchange on Monday the 2nd of August. Tuesday the 27th of July 2021 The real news from Telegram. Green light. The quantum computer is activated. Digital warriors are equipped with quantum weapons. Here Q17 follow the White Rabbit, trust the plan. Cyberattacks cripple South Africa's key ports, Transnet declares force majeure. Investigators are currently looking into the exact source and extent of a data breach that devastated a number of South Africa's key ports, according to Bloomberg. Twitter just wiped all audit accounts set up for other U.S. states, too. Twitter has just suspended the official Arizona audit and audit war room accounts. Motion filed in Georgia court for immediate inspection of Fulton County 2020 election ballots. Voter Gaz Garland Favorito is leading the court case to inspect the roughly 140,000 mail-in ballots from the November 3 election. CDC reverses course. Fully vaccinated Americans are now asked to wear masks indoors in places with substantial or high transmission, including schools, again. Leaked data, covering all NHS trusts in England, show that the vast majority of hospital #s being diagnosed after admission, in some cases weeks later, suggest it includes large numbers likely to have been admitted for other reasons. Tunisian president imposes a 1-month curfew. The movement of people and vehicles is prohibited from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. In addition, gatherings of more than 3 people on public roads or in public places are banned. New York City mayor mandates #scene, or weekly testing, for all city employees, including NYPD and FDNY, effective from September 13. Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft, YouTube, and other big tech companies will now start to add content to a shared counter-terrorism key database, aiming to crack down on material from white supremacists and far-right militias. PayPal teams up with the Jewish NGO Anti-Defamation League to uncover and disrupt the financial pipelines that support extremist and hate movements, according to a joint statement. Arizona Senate issues fresh subpoena for 2020 election audit. Sky News Australia reports that Joe Biden will be removed from presidency via the 25th Amendment in the very near future. Democrats will be forced to remove Joe Biden from office due to his mental decline, former White House physician and current Republican member of Congress Ronnie Jackson has told Fox News. Thousands of ships, millions of troops. China is assembling a huge fleet for war with Taiwan. Whiplash 347. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens until the Three Gorges Dam collapses. It is the start of the event. The dam breaking. The River Daniel 8.6.2 horns as Wuhan Big Pharma getting smashed, Paris shooting his arrow into Achilles. What is the deep state's Achilles heel? It is the 3GD, the nuke reactors protecting Big Pharma, Silk Road deep state central Wuhan. Yes. Data center. In FA typhoon will take out Three Gorges Dam Western Europe. Catastrophic floods in some regions of Western Europe have led to unprecedented destruction and claimed dozens of human lives. According to scientists, climate change is one of the causes of the disaster. Japan. Cyclone Napartik has formed and is now headed for mainland Japan. Strong waves and rainfall are already affecting surfers participating in the Japan Olympics. Officials adjusting schedules and preparing for interruptions to the games. Guatemala. More than 600,000 people have been affected by extreme weather, and thousands have been evacuated in Guatemala after heavy rains triggered flooding. Bridges and roads have been destroyed in the country, which usually is hit by storms and tornadoes from July to October. China. Budweiser has fallen in Yuyao, China as typhoon in FA hits hard with second landfall. The BBC calls on the Chinese government to take immediate action to stop attacks on journalists after reports of flooding in Henan province. Last weekend, a message from a part appeared on social networks. The Communist Party of China, which called on citizens to publish comments about the location of the BBC team covering the floods in Henan province. Public comments under the post included death threats against our team. Journalists from other media organizations who were reporting in Henan subsequently encountered an angry crowd looking for the BBC team. The Chinese government must take immediate measures to stop these attacks, which continue to endanger foreign journalists. Situation in China every minute that passes by is getting very serious. Water, floods, dams, stock market crashes, now nuclear power plant and fuel rods damage. Over the next 24 hours, Storm INFA moved north before it hit the mainland city of Pinghu, which is quite close to Shanghai. From Monday, Typhoon INFA is continuing to lash the city and nobody knows what to expect. Germany water coming from the ground before the flood started. After Germany and China, now widespread floods ravage Belgium. Severe explosion at Bayer chemical plant in Leverkusen, Germany. Extreme threat alert after explosion at German chemical park sends huge toxic cloud across city. Several people are injured and 5 others are missing. Austria, Carinthia, another interesting, concerning video of high pressurized water coming from underground. Utah. It's car soup in Cedar City. Flash flood warnings kept cars off freeway after massive pileup. Cedar City Mayor Miley Edwards declared a state of emergency as widespread flooding could be seen across the area. Crews were dispatched to assess the damage, which was extensive on both public and private property. Cars could be seen half submerged underwater as streets throughout Cedar City flooded Monday after rain continued to roll through parts of southern Utah. The National Weather Service estimates almost 2 inches of rain had fallen in the city, causing basement flooding and numerous road closures. The American Red Cross has opened a shelter at the church building at 900 West Center Street for those unable to stay in their homes. Record highs here and across the U.S. Ethiopia accuses Egypt, Sudan of politicizing the Renaissance Dam issue to solve their internal problems. Italy has experienced heavy showers of rainfall including massive amount of hail the size of rocks. Afghanistan. The Taliban has reportedly cut the power to the Afghan capital, damaging pylons around Kabul. Bangladesh. Heavy rainfall in world's largest refugee camp, Cox's Bazar, 6 reported die from the flood. Abkhazia hit by severe floods. Rivers in the Republic in the South Caucasus have risen 2 meters, flooding hundreds of homes and triggering a mass evacuation. Abkhazia's emergency services say search and rescue operations are underway in the worst affected areas. The storm writer. Communism is not at our doorsteps. Communism is in our house. Communists are disguised as globalists, rhino Republicans, and many other activists. You can spot many of them because they are the ones who want to move on from the 2020 election and are pushing for mandatory vaccinations. And how many millions of brainwashed sheep are wearing the utterly useless, in fact harmful, masks? What do they see in the mirror when they look at it when wearing their masks? Not a pretty sight. North, South Korea agree to restore communication channels, improve ties. A spokesman for the Arizona Audit Service, Randy Pullen, said that they will probably completely finish counting today. By Friday, the audit team is expected to leave the Wesley Bolin building. The final report is expected around mid-August, but they still need routers, logs and system keys to complete the audit and make sure that the voting machines have not been hacked. Arizona Senate President Karen Funn has issued 2 new legislative subpoenas against Dominion voting machines and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, ordering them to appear if the requested materials are not submitted to the Arizona Senate by August 2. A package with white powder was sent to the President of the Senate, Karen Funn. The left is intensifying the threats. Representative of the state of Wisconsin Janelle Brancion issued a press release. The Committee on Election Campaigns and Elections will begin a more intensive investigation of voting fraud in the presidential election. Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer attacks Trump supporters. How could 74 million people vote for such a despicable, racist and vile person? Trump on the alleged investigation of Pelosi on January 6. Now it would be very useful to study large-scale voter fraud in our presidential election. According to a new report by Breitbart News, Joe Biden is hiding a secret report that details the intimate relationship of Democrat Eric Swalwell with Chinese spy Fang Fang. Biden told CNN that he asked the Secret Service not to go into his bedroom in the morning or during breakfast, because at such moments he is not usually dressed yet. Joe Biden called a female reporter a thorn in the neck during a meeting with the Prime Minister of Iraq because of questions about vaccination. In response, the left-wing journalist laughed and said that she would consider it a compliment. Representative of the state of Florida Anthony Sabatini calls for a forensic audit in the 5 largest counties of the state. California Governor Gavin Newsom compares unvaccinated people to murderous drunk drivers. Or weekly testing for all government employees and healthcare workers. Representatives of 𝐑𝐞𝐬𝐭 𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐿 and Green will hold a press conference at the Ministry of Justice and demand answers about the inhumane treatment of political prisoners on January 6. Experts Clements and Cashel. Trump went ahead in Michigan by 373,000 votes and won Biden with a score of 52.9% to 45.4%. In Pennsylvania the advantage is 424,000 votes, 52% to 46%. Nancy Pelosi is spending a great deal of time, effort, and money on the formulation of a fake and highly partisan January 6 committee to ask, what happened? Will Nancy investigate herself and those on Capitol Hill who didn't want additional protection, including more police and National Guard, therefore being unprepared despite the large crowd of people that everyone knew was coming? Will Nancy and her committee study the massive voter fraud that took place during the 2020 presidential election, particularly in swing states? That was the reason hundreds of thousands of people came pouring into Washington and, therefore, must be a big factor in the final committee report? Now would be a very good time to study the large-scale voter fraud in our presidential election. Will Nancy release the thousands of hours of tapes so we can see the extent to which Antifa and Black Lives Matter played a role, while also revealing who killed Ashley Babbitt? A real and thorough investigation of this must be done. And what about all of the violence, murders, riots, and fires that took place in Democrat-run cities throughout the United States by Antifa and Black Lives Matter, with virtually no consequence for this death and destruction? Will Nancy look into the vicious partisan investigations of conservatives and Republicans that are taking place by prosecutors all over the country? The 5-year investigation of Trump, and all that so many have been through, including the fake Russia charge, and including the local Democrat-controlled New York prosecutors who work around the clock to get President Donald Trump. Germany flooding. 600 bodies of children found in the flood? Baby corpses washed up in Bad Neuenahr. Eyewitnesses also report a gymnasium in which around 600 child and baby corpses are said to be laid out. This is to be kept secret from the public. Also NTV reports, child corpses, washed up from somewhere, have been found in houses. Have found children's corpses in their houses, washed up from somewhere further away, and on the other hand the question is, will there be floods again? Yes, more heavy rains with the risk of flooding can be expected. In Germany, in Belgium, in the Czech Republic, in the Netherlands and in many other regions. Meanwhile, the German population is stunned that the government knew days before that an absolute flood disaster was in the offing. What about the bees at the Vatican? Fountain of youth where they mix children's blood and honey. Hillary Clinton wanted to save the bees for this reason. COVID hoax is unsafe, and must be avoided at all costs. Big Pharma and Anthony Fauci have lost a lawsuit filed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and a group of scientists. Canada forcing children to vaccinate, violating all 10 points of the Nuremberg Code. This guy got into trouble because he posted the word genocide on his account in the context of the fact that the government of Canada is committing it right now. This applies to everyone, including children. The government of Canada is aware of the fact that the threshold value of the PCR testing cycle is too high, so we get more than 90% of false positives, the driving force of the emergency in Canada. And this is the only reason why they can inject you and your child with a poisonous experimental injection, which according to various sources has already killed more than 9,000 people in North America alone. Being challenged in court. Every injection death is a murder committed by the government of Canada, not by a virus, not by nature or by God. And the government of Canada is committing this genocide not only against those who want to, they are forcing the vast majority of the population, including children. They violated each of the 10 points of the Nuremberg Code. In 2005, representatives of the U.S. Department of Defense and military commanders of the Pentagon held a top-secret presentation of the no less top-secret FUN-VAX program. The video of a short part of this Pentagon briefing was secretly filmed by an informant. At least 3 key conclusions can be drawn from the insightful presentation of an experienced scientist in the field of biological weapons, who, apparently, is the leader of the FUN-VAX project. 1. Specifically designed to immunize certain people and groups of the population to suppress the God gene in them. The suppression of VMAT2 has been the main goal of American biological weapons laboratories for decades, with the alleged goal of neutralizing terrorists who pursue religious fanaticism. However, the real goal is to vaccinate people around the world against the tendency to spiritual searches and/or mystical experiences. Some biological weapons researchers suggest that the real purpose of fun-vax is to permanently suppress the development of the soul. 2. The most practical form of vaccination against VMAT2 in the face of the need for extreme secrecy is a respiratory virus that can be secretly released in any city, country or region of the world. This would eliminate the problem of a society that is reluctant to accept vaccination by injection. Religious cultures in general are increasingly afraid of the true intention of vaccination. Many people have not only experienced or observed undesirable side effects of vaccines, but are also rightly skeptical about their effectiveness. 3. Spread an indiscriminate spraying of chemicals over an unsuspecting population. Thus, aerosol vaccines can be secretly administered to citizens of any country, which allows for illegal chemical geoengineering. The latest video will be shown earlier at the official website restoredrepublic.co.
Thank you for your support.